Hello, Robert. I see you made it on.
This one works. I don't know why. This one iPad works. Don't know why.
We prayed and it started working. It was a miracle.
None of my computers work, but this iPad works. I don't know why. You never know with these things. Hey, you're looking good. You know, it looked like the hurricane blew you away.
No. I'm a little windblown tonight, but otherwise everything is just fine.
What do you mean? You look younger than ever, man.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I better go comb my hair. I didn't expect I was going to be on, you know. I was just trying this out here, and bam, it came in.
You don't have any hair at this point to comb.
Oh, look at the back.
Want it if you got it. Well, I've been missing you, my friend. Didn't we have a good time over there in Oklahoma?
Oh, yeah, we had a great time. Yeah, sure we did.
I put up a picture of you getting into the ice cream. Did you see that?
I don't mind. Nothing. Everything's fine.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything yet. I've been so messing about with this thing, and got a problem with my right eye. I have to keep it closed because I can't look at the iPad with my right eye because some guy put some kind of new lens in because of what do they call it when you get some issues with your lenses, and you can't see up close with it, so I have to close it.
Well, I knew a guy that poked his left eye out with his iPad because he thought he had to stick it in his eye.
Well, anyway, if you see me and I look funny, you'll understand. This eye here is partially closed, but anyway, never mind. I got them open now. You're looking good, though. Much better than me.
I think you're looking fine. Hey, you folks online, you need to compliment him. He's got a low self-esteem tonight.
No, don't compliment me. Don't. It'll embarrass me, and then it'll make me feel even like lower, you know? What time does your meeting begin anyway?
Well, it begins in 5 minutes, but we've got Matthew Mosier on here tonight.
Okay. I was just trying it out, see if this thing worked, and bam, it worked.
You remember Mosier?
Well, he's always involved in the process, as I recall.
That's right.
He's a process man. Without him, you'd be lost in the woods.
I was trying to get that fellow you kicked off, Emerson Moe, that one time.
I don't even want to remember bad memories. I don't remember. Let's just leave sleeping dogs lie.
Okay. All right.
You didn't have a dog in the flood, I hope.
No, I don't keep a dog.
I do. It's a lot of work keeping a dog. I tell you, I've walked this dog every night for 10 years with nonstop. I told someone I've walked her over 3,000 times. I'm getting kind of at the end of my tether, literally. I wish she'd walk herself.
Well, I think it's kind of a shame that old guys these days are kind of slaves to little dogs. Down here,
I got a big dog, not a little dog.
Oh, you got a big dog.
I got a nice big pit bull. Take you apart, huh? 90-pound pit bull.
I think last time you mentioned the dog, you threw up on the carpet. You remember?
Who did? Me?
Yeah, your dog.
Well, that happens rarely. She's only done that once, so it was an odd moment, obviously. I'm not in the middle of this thing, but anyway. So you can see me, huh?
Yes, we're looking up on you a little bit.
Oh, well, whatever works. Well, I put it like this, you think?
No, that's good.
I gotta hold it up like this. My God, okay, because this is not a computer, see? I got to put it on something. Oh, well, anyway, I'll just hold it on the top of this chair or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'll hold it up here somewhere. Let me see if I can find some sort of something to, I know, I'll put it on top. Nah, that doesn't work. Well, I'm running all around. Forget about it. I'll do it like this. Are you outside or something?
I'm right in my house. And
this is your house, huh? Have you sorted out all your house problems? Last time you told me you were involved in issues.
Oh, it's still the same. It's different. Yeah. Different issues now.
I don't believe in issues.
Okay. What do? Just tell them to get out?
Nope, I've never told anyone to get out. I believe in monogamy, and I believe in keeping your word, and I believe in not breaking faith. Period.
How long have you been married, Robert?
Oh God, I married in Israel. I can't even remember now. In 1971. How long is that?
Oh, wow.
But I knew the young lady for
40.
about 13 years prior to that.
46.
Yeah, I guess I've been married 46 years. You see, I don't keep track of that stuff.
That's
But
amazing.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we were friends for a long time first, you see. And if you're friends with someone first, then you're friends for life, you know. So it doesn't change.
Well,
Sex should not be the basis of marriage, because sex comes and goes. Friendship remains forever.
Well, speaking of sex, why don't you tell us a little about your new novel?
There is a lot of sex in it. I was shocked. The typist read it because I hadn't read it in 60 years. It was an old, first love of mine that I chased to Paris after college. And the weird thing is I wrote this thing up in the Austrian Alps, sort of where actually it turned out that Theodor Herzl stayed up in this place too, but also the Germans stored their stolen masterpieces in a salt mine there called Altassee in the Austrian Alps. And some people in Paris told me to go there. So I wrote this thing there, and I'd never looked at it in 60 years. Believe me, it was just in a pile of papers. And so I started looking at it, and I gave it to this person who helps me type my stuff up. And she said to me, "Do you know what's in here?" I said, "No, I never read it." She said, I couldn't stop reading it. She said, I said, "What are you talking about?" So I read it and I said, "Oh my God."
So is it online that we can get it now?
No, you get it from Grave Distractions. It's called Suzanne Fisher, but it's got a few very, I wouldn't say, I would say racy parts. Even I didn't know I could write such good pornography.
That's just maybe a second career for you.
Well, no, another point was it wasn't pornography because it was actually real. I mean, I was writing down what happened. When you read it 60 years later, it sounds like pornography, but it isn't. It's just real. So I was kind of really shocked, but I was actually quite impressed. I said, "Jesus, did you do those things? Are you kidding?"
So you're saying you took it right off the shelf and took it to the publisher, just like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't look at it or anything?
Not till after the time. No, I didn't. Not till then. People said, "Are you kidding? What's in this book? You're crazy." No, but apparently people like it.
Susan Fisher.
Suzanne Fisher. It's only $9. You can afford $9 from Grave Distractions. I mean, my God, come on.
I'm looking for it.
Suzanne, not Susan. Suzanne. Suzanne. If you can spell the difference between Susan and Suzanne. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not important. It's just a piece of fluff I knocked off. So I had it in my writing, bundle, and I just never looked at it in 60 years. I wrote it in 1958-59 in the Austrian Alps and the island of Idra. And the weird thing, Idra, you may have heard of Idra. It's a Greek island off the coast of the Peloponnese. I was going to Greece, but Idra is a real popular place now, but nobody went there then. And Leonard Cohen, he made it famous in his song Marianne. because he wrote about this young lady there called Marianne. So long, Marianne. He met her there in Egypt, but he came 3 years after I was there. I mean, he you know, I had already been and gone, and I knew Mariana. I knew it wasn't Marianne, it was Mariana, and I knew her. Her name was Mariana Jensen, and she was married to a writer, a Norwegian writer called Axel Jensen. And I think I would never have touched that young lady because she was a beautiful young lady, but I'd never have touched her because I had too much admiration and respect for her husband, Axel. They're all passed away now, so it doesn't matter. But the point is, Axel was a really dignified, you know, fine Norwegian writer. And of course, Leonard Cohen. Well, Leonard Cohen is Leonard Cohen, and I'm sure he made a lot of such advances at quite a number of people. I won't go any deeper than that. So he made the songs famous, but I wouldn't. Anyway, she appears in my book, but I call her Ariana.
Would you like me to read the synopsis?
Of what?
Oh, Suzanne Fisher.
Suzanne Fisher?
Yes, I have.
Sure. If you can read, I don't mind.
Yes, it's a few paragraphs.
Yeah.
Suzanne Fisher continues the story of Trip Hammer Falls, but now all the action is in Europe. It follows James Levin from the time.
That's me, James Levin.
James
Levin, yeah. I gave myself a Levitical name.
It follows James Levin from the time he lands at Le Havre till a month later when he meets Suzanne at the Gare
Saint-Lazare. Oui.
Once in Paris, they take a room together on the left bank.
There you go. There's where the trouble begins.
There's okay. But fine, there really wasn't much they could get done there, nor achieve living as they were in $1 a day hotel room in the Latin Quarter. The book takes place completely in Europe at a time when it really was a bohemian paradise. And there wasn't any place you really couldn't get a room for less than $1 a night. Suzanne?
Yeah, you could get $1 a night was, you know, for a regular room anywhere in Europe, Austria, Germany, Paris, Italy. It was considered expensive. In Greece, I got rooms for 30, 40 cents a night. And in Paris, you could get rooms for 30, 40 cents a night, too. And the same place that I had a room for 60 cents a night a couple of years later, you pay about $200 a night today for.
Did you get bed bugs with that $1?
No. I never saw a bed bug anywhere. Never saw a bed bug in my life. Anywhere.
Suzanne is petrified of her father, and that he will find out they're living together in Paris and therefore bring her home. Levin decides, go ahead.
She was studying the piano at the Paris Conservatory, and she was a very good pianist, and you know, he had sent her to the conservatory. I didn't go because she was going. I was already going there, and she only came at the last minute, but she messed up my Paris stay, so read the next sentence.
Levin decides to solve the problem unilaterally, as it were, and goes, albeit unwillingly, not to Vienna, where he has always wanted to return, but to Alt-Aussee in the Austrian Salzkammergut.
Right.
How'd I do with that?
Very good. Salzkammergut, very good.
Which some people at a cafe in the left bank, the Contrescarpe, known for his guitar-playing folk singers, French, English, Scottish, and American, near where Hemingway used to live, had recommended to him. That is, Levin. From there, still unable to work effectively because of worrying about Suzanne alone in Paris, he goes to Vienna and several times back to Paris before finally going down to the Hydra. Off the
Idra. That's the island that I'm telling you.
Off the coast of the Peloponnesus, since made famous by Leonard Cohen in his song
So Long, Marianne.
And the Greek islands. It is also.
You don't know that song? So long,
all day, all
Marianne,
night, Marianne.
Something.
It's not all day, all night, Marianne.
No, it's So Long, Marianne.
All right. I'll look it up and have it ready for you next
No, I don't recommend it. He's a piece of crap, and I wouldn't recommend anything from him.
All right.
I knew him personally, and I don't like people whom I don't respect personally.
Was he kind of
On the make.
Yeah. I get it.
Right.
So,
In every way, literarily and sexually.
It has also recently been discovered by the editors that
But
Theodore.
I don't want to say this in a public way, because you get into a situation of problems. So I just better shut my mouth.
Well, like you said, he's dead, but he probably has family members.
No, I know his family.
Okay.
They're from Montreal.
It has recently been discovered by the editors that Theodor Herzl, the acclaimed Zionist thinker, used regularly to spend his summers at Alt Aussee. In Idra, not only are Levin's adventures there described, but from there, the last stages of his relationship with Suzanne Fisher are worked out before he finally returns to Paris one last time, where the book reaches a climax and he is assassinated.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
You didn't let any goodies out there. You just dropped some names, Robert.
I didn't write that thing, so it's nothing to do with me. People don't put stuff in the back.
Oh.
That's supposed to let anything out. I didn't put any quote. I didn't know this stuff was in there anyway when that was written. I thought it was a very innocent narrative.
Well, you all get that book. It sounds exciting, and you'll learn a lot of new words.
No, maybe you better not get it. It'll ruin my reputation. But remember, it was written 60 years ago when I was 22 years old. So
I want to put the link up for it anyway.
Right.
All right, here it comes.
Suzanne Fisher. Maybe with the blurb, too, if you want. It's on my website, too. I mean, it's on my my Facebook.
Right
see,
there.
You see how closely you look at my Facebook. It's been sitting on there on my Facebook for around half a year. But anyway, never mind.
Okay, well, it's on the chat if anybody wants to go out there and take a look at it.
Fine. The better book is the one I did last year, War, Territory, Nation, which are essays about Judaism, the Arabs, and I forget what the last subtitle is. But anyway, it shows so much I know. But that one is War, Territory, Nation.
Is that the one about the Ottoman Empire?
Yeah, all that stuff.
Man, I tried to get through that.
You couldn't. Okay.
It was. I've got it here. At least you're getting some revenue on it.
No, I try to teach people something.
I'm going to try again one of these days.
Don't kill yourself.
We'll have a class on that book.
Okay, anyway.
I'll tell you.
That one up too. War, Territory, right. Nation. That one should be on the same, on the same page.
Well,
War, Territory, Nation. There's a nice cover on it, actually.
I'm looking for it. Here it is.
What's the blurb for that one say?
Well, let's see. Robert Eisenman's War, Territory, Nation, Israel, the Arabs, and the Jewish People develops ideas conceived of while he was living in Israel's occupied territories after the Six-Day War for 5 years, and in the USA thereafter, the Yom Kippur War. There are 7 pieces in all, the last, Cyprus, Aphrodite's Isle, being rather an autobiographical story, but all overlap in the areas of history, politics, sociology, and religion. Though each deals with somewhat different subject matter,
that's sarcastic, Cyprus, Aphrodite's Isle, because she's the goddess of love. I'm supposed to, I'm on my way to India out from Israel and going through Cyprus to Turkey, and all that's going on there is killing. Everyone's trying to kill each other, and they're also trying to kill me. There's no love. There's not even a stitch of love. There's just I have to flee into the mountains in that story to escape being killed. It's quite interesting. So that's a joke. Aphrodite's Isle.
You should call it again the Kittim.
Yeah, go ahead.
Isle of the Kittim.
Right.
Though each deals with somewhat different subject matter, all provide the same insights and understandings. Moreover, the reader will see that all are still absolutely valid today, as almost nothing has changed.
No, nothing has changed. I read it and I said, oh my God, nothing has changed.
Just as Theodor Herzl's Jewish state was conceived of as a solution to the Jewish question and subtitled as such, unfortunately Hitler picked up the same language after that, so too why must we stop being Jews and become Hebrews again? why we must stop being Jews and become Hebrews. And the problem with rabbinical Judaism deal with the question of 100 years later in the light of new configuration of circumstances after the destruction of the mass of European Jewry and establishment of the State of Israel.
Yeah, that's right.
Arab class structure.
Those are what all the different essays in the collection
Yeah. That's what it is. I'll put the
war, territory, nation, yeah.
I'm wondering, are you going to answer some questions today?
Sure, go on. I'm here. Where am I going?
You
got any people to ask him? Am I boring people? I don't want to bore anybody.
No, the questions will probably bore people.
You probably all know the answers. My brain is almost dead now, so that I've forgotten more than you know, more than I used to know. In fact, you probably know more about what I know than I know myself now.
Well, you see, we're on the seventh event in the New Testament Code Commentary series. We're only up to chapter 2. It took.
Well, it's a decent book, actually, if you got the patience and stamina to get through it.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. If you got through James, you can get through this. But
well, this is everything I cut out of James. They're both written at the same time, and these are then the publisher got angry and said, I'm not going to publish another 1,000 pages, so I had to get some other guy to publish it. He wouldn't put the footnotes in. I had to put the footnotes online on my website, roberteisenman.com, but another one did a shorter version and put some of the footnotes in. But another guy, the same one who did the War, Territory, Nation, and Suzanne Fisher, actually published the footnotes in a separate volume. So he has an actual separate volume, which are really good, actually, because there's about, you know, there's about 1,000 footnotes.
Well, I learned something last week, and that was that acts and recognitions follow the same source material.
They do.
That was a revelation to me. And you
see, you're closer to the material than I probably would have forgotten it already. You know?
Yeah. Well, see,
but the recognitions follow it more closely.
And you say more authentically too.
Yeah, Axe is playing games with it.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Axe doesn't want to admit there was an attack on James, so it transforms it into an attack on a sort of mythological character that doesn't even exist called Stephen, and picks that character Stephen out of Josephus, who was beat up below the temple walls, but he was a messenger from Caesar in Rome to the Jews in Jerusalem, and he got beat up by the revolutionaries. So they transformed that into an attack on the apostle or the disciple Stephen, instead of the attack on the temple steps and the recognitions on James. So if you really want to go to the real attack by Paul on James, you've got to go to the recognitions.
Mm-hmm. Well, again,
everybody knows that who's read my book, so I can remember at least that much.
Well, how about this? This is something that always intrigued me here in chapter 2. What I was going to do tonight to talk about the.
I don't want to steal your thunder.
No. I want you to talk about it because it's difficult for me to understand here regarding this.
You got it. I told you you're in better shape than me now, I'm sure.
All right. You should now start paying me to be your surrogate.
I will. I'll pay you to be my spokesperson, right?
All right. The mausoleum. You call it a mausoleum or sepulcher monument. Talking about the road to Jericho.
Right.
Paul's going to Damascus, Jericho, and there's this.
He's chasing. Yeah, he's chasing. In one, he's chasing, I guess, whoever it is, and in the recognitions, he's chasing James.
Now, there are two things I want to ask you. One is concerning this sepulcher that you all claim to have found in 2001.
Oh, I did find.
The sepulchers whitening of themselves. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, the point of the matter is that I hadn't realized. I've been to the Dead Sea location that we call Qumran, Qumran, as most of your listeners know. But, it's by the Dead Sea, and there's a graveyard and everything like that. But I hadn't realized that the graveyard until this later dig or expedition, which I did, I hadn't realized that the graveyard was centered on this one high, shall we say, rock tomb position. And so therefore I call it a sepulcher, because the whole graveyard is pointed at that. And that is obviously an extremely important person. So I assume that is the sepulcher or the burial monument. He's actually there, whoever it was, of the righteous teacher. And since I consider James the Tzaddik, James the righteous one, even in Christianity, James the just, coming from the Greek from the Latin back to the Greek, dikaios, back to the Hebrew, tzaddik, I consider him to be the righteous teacher, because why would you be called the righteous one? And in the scrolls, the teacher is always called the righteous one. I mean, that's a coincidence to me. That's too strong to ignore. So
well, you said
I
like
think that
one's at the head of Qumran and the other's around Jericho someplace. I'm a little confused.
no, yeah. Well, the Jericho one is the myth of Christian history, but that's Paul chases this James character in the recognitions. But we know he's in he goes through Jericho. Even in the book of Acts, Paul goes through Jericho on his way and finally to Damascus. But in fact, he misses the James and his community, who disappear somewhere. Well, Qumran is just south of Jericho, about 10 miles south. And this monument is about 10 miles south of Jericho along the Dead Sea. So to me, that is sufficient. I can't, there's nothing else. There is no other burial monument in that area that you could call attention to of any significance.
So are you equating that with the one found in the recognitions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I think there's a rather outstanding YouTube video on the finding of that, as I recall, with your students. I think that was in 2001, maybe.
Probably, yeah, because I've gotten older, so I haven't gone back very much recently, and also there was a period there that the legal problems over the publication of the scrolls had stopped me from going back. But that was after I went back when those things were finished, and we did find that, and I was always thrilled about that. And I think I have pictures of it in my books, and as you said, there's also a video with the students.
That's a good video. The other question I have is concerning these graveyards.
Graveyard.
Well,
graveyard. Where's the other one?
Well, I assume there was two of them.
Where?
There's one at the head of Qumran, and there was this one around Jericho. But
no, there was. If you can find one around Jericho, let me know, will you?
All right. Tell me about the way these. Well, in the one you say there's a couple of women there, and there's at least one man, if you recall.
Well, in the one at Qumran, yeah, I'm not an expert on the graveyard itself at Qumran, and I can't explain the women being there.
I'm just wondering about the way
this is above my expertise.
The way they're buried, north, south, east, west. What's the significance?
North, south. Hey, you're getting above my head here. I mean, this is the direction that all of these sectarian groups buried, north, south. Probably because pointing towards Jerusalem, but I wouldn't stake my life on it if you found a grave in northern Syria of the same community, whether it be north, south, or pointing towards Jerusalem. I haven't found one that I could identify of being, for surely identify of being the same group. So I wouldn't want to speculate any further than probably pointing towards Jerusalem. But I wouldn't want to bet my life on it.
Well, I think that you kind of hooked it up with Masbuthians or daily bathers or
Masbutans.
Mas, what are they?
Masbutans.
Masbutans. Okay. Daily bathers.
Daily bathers, yeah. John the Baptist type groups.
Yes.
Hey, you've been reading this stuff, and I haven't read it since it's like that novel I wrote 60 years ago. I haven't read this in 20 years, man.
In that case, I'm going to
you're the
open
expert
this up for other people to ask.
Yeah, you're too expert. I'm a babe in the woods.
I'm just trying to learn, that's all. Does anybody else have questions for this man here? Or I will go on.
No, go on.
Ask him about ice cream. Ask him about the people.
You forced that ice cream on me, but I'm a sucker for it, so I shouldn't complain.
There are people just shy here. I know they've got something to say.
Yeah, don't worry about them. Let's carry on. You're doing a good job.
Okay.
I do have a question. I've been wanting to ask you this. The Zoroastrianism that happened in the north when they came to take over Persia, I understood your expertise is that direction also. How is the Zoroastrianism the same and different than Judaism or Israelite thinking?
Well, Zoroastrianism, or following the god Zoroaster, is probably influenced a lot of Judaistic thinking from around the 3rd century BC onwards. So, I mean, the Jewish religion is being created in this period. I am not an expert on all the elements of Zoroastrianism that could have had an influence on the creation of Judaism as such. Judaism as such is different from Old Testament religion, if we want to, distinguish between the two. There's elements of the Old Testament religion in Judaism as it develops. But you'd have to check, are there rabbinical type individuals in the Zoroastrian construction? Because there's no rabbinical type individuals in Old Testament Judaism that you can easily point to in the Old Testament documents down to about the 3rd century. I mean, even in the Maccabee books, I don't see any rabbis.
Okay.
I mean, there are Pharisees developing into rabbis, which you do start to come across in the Maccabee books, but the Maccabee books are not very happy about those kind of people. And the Dead Sea Scrolls hate the Pharisees, and they're totally priestly oriented, but they see every righteous person as a priest. In other words, all the righteous ones are priests. I think it says in one of the documents. So they have a more of a, I would say, I think, esoteric understanding of priestliness. I mean, I'm not even sure, they would restore the temple cult absolutely. That's why I like so much this idea of righteousness as the central focus of their ethos. I think that, to my mind, that's the most important thing. Also, righteousness is everything.
Yes, I agree. This is Lee. I didn't quite get to see you in Tulsa.
You were lucky.
It sounds like you had a good time. I'm here in Vero with Jackson, so I hear about this a lot.
I didn't drink or get drunk or dance with anyone. I didn't have a very good time.
Well, that's not what I heard, but...
Well, Jackson's a good storyteller anyway.
Yeah.
Unless he's got some incriminating video of me doing such things, I wouldn't... I'd have to be reminded of it in some manner, I guess.
I have that interview now you said I could put up.
Yeah, you can put it up.
I have this 2.5 hour interview of him.
So I'm stumbling around, am I?
No, it's funny, especially to start. How long is this going to take? I can walk out of here if I wanted to.
Well, this is, that's an uncut interview, but I think that's nice,
It's cool. It really is good.
It's a real picture of the situation, and we don't clean it up,
All right. Here's a couple of questions. I'm going to let them say them, but they came on chat. A couple questions I've already asked you. I know what the answers are for
I
you.
don't know the answer.
And I'm going to let them.
You know the answer, then you better answer.
No. I'm going to let them take the heat because I don't agree with you on a couple.
Can you see me still with this thing? I've got this thing. Good.
I'm calling on Allison Gary to ask her question, which I asked you last time I talked to you. Come on, Allison.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Allison, who's handsomer? Jackson or me? Tell me. Go ahead.
Man, you have more, I think, Professor
I like
Eisenman.
your cat. I like your cat, Allison.
Who has more
Oh,
money? That's what you should ask.
Well, that's true. He probably does.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Any money I had, I can tell I didn't get from the Cal State University system.
Yeah, I understand.
They want to pay you.
All right.
Go ahead, Allison.
All right. Please do not blast me. because I'm a seeker here. What do you think about the Amarna Quran, if there is any, in the, and maybe only the circle drawer and the later stuff?
The Amarna. What about the Amarna?
Do you think there is any connection between Amarna and Qumran in oh shoot, Jackson, what's the Pharaoh's name there, or the
Akhenaten?
Akhenaten? Yes.
Well, there would be perhaps, except there's a huge time difference there, so I can't say. Although Qumran, we don't know much about the actual movement that we would identify with Qumran. But from what we see from the archaeology, we're not dealing with something that's older than the 2nd century, 3rd century the most, but 2nd century BC. So Amarna is about 1,000 years earlier. So it's hard to connect up. But the ideology may be coming through different transmission processes that I would not be able to specify.
Well, take a look at the temples. The Ezekiel temple, Temple Scroll temple, they are identical.
That's nothing to do with Qumran. Qumran didn't write the book of Ezekiel. They're just preserving it.
Well, in the Temple Scroll, somebody wrote that. It's
Yeah, that's
all
right.
I'm saying is they're the exact same measurements.
Yeah, they took it from
Amarna.
Ezekiel, right.
Okay.
And from Amarna too. Well, you see, you know more than I know.
All right. Here, Jason's on here.
What was the other question she had? She had a second question.
Jason had it.
No, she had another question. Allison did. Amarna and something else.
Only the circle drawer.
Only the circle drawer.
Only
Only the circle drawer. Someone
yes.
who appears in Josephus as a very important. I don't know. He's drawing circles that he won't step out of until it rains or something like that, and he's a precursor of he's a John the Baptist-like precursor, but he's in the 2nd century BC or thereabouts in the early Maccabean movement, and he seems to be sympathetic to the Maccabees. I'm sympathetic to the Maccabees before they were corrupted by Herodian interrelationship. But I see the Maccabees as precursors of the Qumran movement. And what I differ, as you know, from other scholars who they're so, I hate to call them stupid, but any idiot could read the Qumran documents and see that the Qumran documents have the same ideas as the purist Maccabees do. And they're not anti-Maccabean in any way, shape, form. They're only anti-Rabbinic and anti-Pharisee. So then the Maccabees were too, and the rabbis were anti-Maccabean, and finally replaced them. The Pharisees made an alliance with the King Herod, and the Herod promoted the Pharisees and persecuted the groups like the Maccabees or their successors, and chased them out into these wilderness locations. So if you read the Qumran documents, you'll see that they have everything in common with teachers like Honi the Circle Drawer. Honi the Circle Drawer has everything in common with John the Baptist, and so on down to the Dead Sea Scrolls. But not the New Testament. John the Baptist, if you look at his ideas in Josephus, are probably the ideological opposite of what they're presented as in the New Testament. But go ahead. That's the best I can do.
Thank you. That's very good. Thank you.
Here's one coming from Jason Capone. He comes on every time you're on.
He's not a relative Al, is he?
Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah, right.
He lives in Zion, New York. And if you don't answer,
Al was a big Zionist, I heard.
if you don't answer him in accordance, he'll send a guy up there.
Okay.
Now, I already asked you this question. You blasted me for it. No.
Oh, come on.
You blast him this time. Blast
I'm
him.
much more even-tempered. We're trying to have fun, aren't we?
All right. Patina match between the James ossuary and the other ossuaries in the Jesus family tomb. How do you explain that?
I don't credit the Jesus family tomb.
Huh?
Period. I don't credit the Jesus family tomb. Period. I
Give
don't
us what
explain
you
it.
think about that.
I don't explain it. I don't try to explain it. I know that it is a fraud. Okay, that's all I can tell you. Not that the tomb itself is a fraud, but the idea of any comparison between the James tomb and the so-called Jesus family tomb, I am sure is absolutely unreal. And I know the people who are playing the game of that, and they're getting a lot of followers, and how should we put it? When you go fishing and you catch or you bring people in with the fish, with the fishing rods and things, so they're hooking a lot of people and bringing them in with that idea. And this family tomb is just, I haven't thought about it in 5 years, so I really am not up to date on it. But honestly, I don't credit anything concerning the Jesus family tomb, period. So you can. That doesn't, just because I don't, doesn't mean you can't.
Well, the patina on the broken James tomb and the patina on the ossuaries coming out of that Talpiot tomb, they've been proven to be the same. Now, I don't know
Well, you know, one man's proof is another man's sleight of hand.
Okay.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that you can compare the patinas that accurately, and I don't believe that that there aren't other patinas. If they could compare that with that they wouldn't go into some other tombs and find similar patinas. So, I mean, I wouldn't base anything on a patina in terms of where a certain ossuary came from.
Okay.
And the James ossuary isn't in that tomb, is it? So why not? You know,
There was
take
one
it somewhere else.
There was one ossuary stolen in 1980
Oh yeah, okay, fine.
from the
And
original.
there's always explanation, and there's some women in that tomb, as I recall, aren't there, and some other things. I wouldn't give you a fresh penny for that tomb, but if you like that tomb, that's fine.
Okay.
A lot of people are making a lot of PR and a lot of self promotion and getting a lot of followers, and also I think leading a lot of people astray. But if you like that, that's fine. I don't want to discourage you. You're not going to have me go in that direction, and I can't prove it one way or the other, because the point of the matter is I don't rely on patina evidence. I rely on the evidence of internal data.
Okay. Liz McGee, who is a teacher on YouTube, well known, she's got a question for you. Liz, can you get on? Jason says thank you, by the way.
Oh, yeah, shouldn't thank me. I maybe wasn't polite enough. I apologize.
You're the star. Go ahead.
Well, Dr. Eisen, how are you?
How are you? How are you?
I am well. Thank you. I have a question.
You look well. You look really well.
Yeah, I know.
Better than me. You look 100 times better than me.
Tell him, Jackson, I don't really look like that.
Okay. I look like this, and it's pretty frightening even to me.
You're all lovely. I have a question about Paul. Because Jackson, I know he did. I once looked at a genealogy, like who his mother was, like his, back to his Herodian family tree.
Right.
But I was trying to figure out who Paul's specific mother was. Okay, and then do you know?
I have a genealogy in the back of my James and New Testament code books. I think that one of my students did, who's very expert. In fact, he ended up doing his doctorate on those genealogies of the Herodian family, and all that I know is what he produced in that genealogy. So I'd have to open the back of my James book, and you've got it as well as I do, and I don't know any more or less than that, because this student of mine did it for me.
I've got it memorized if you want.
I do know that Paul is certainly an Herodian, a member of the Herodian family, because in his letter to the Romans that I credit, he speaks of his kinsman, the littlest Herod. and he also has a Roman citizenship like the Herodians, and he comes from Southern Asia Minor, where the Herodians had mini kingdoms. And there's so many parallels with Paul with the Herodians. I have an article on my website, Paul as Herodian. So, I mean, I have no doubt that he was of Herodian origin. And anyone who is of Herodian origin, to me, is an enemy of the Jewish people. And he proved himself to be the enemy. In fact, this Pseudo-Clementines called him the enemy. And I believe the Dead Sea Scrolls speak about him as the enemy. Hostile man, the enemy, and so on. They see his doctrines as totally 180 degrees opposed to theirs.
But this is I have a look. From what I could understand from the genealogy, so Jackson, was your genealogy from Eisenman's book, the back of the book?
Yes.
Okay, so it did look like there was some intermarriage, though. Some of the women were Jews who were married.
Well, sure, the Herodians married Jews.
That's what I mean. So what I'm trying to find out is if Paul's mother was Jewish.
Some of them were forced marriage. Have you read Josephus?
Yeah, but my point is because you have a house, I think, of a Jewish.
I better open my. Right, I'm going to have to open my James book. Where's a copy of my James book?
I have it right here.
Barrel here. No, I got to look myself. I think I got
it right here. If you don't want to look.
Wait, I'll look in the back of this New Testament code book. Maybe I'll find it. I'm using it to prop up my.
Because it seems that most of the women were Jewish, because they had a thing about marrying the Jewish women. So
I don't know about that. I have no idea. I'd have
Jewish, according to Jewish law, that makes him Jewish.
Well, you know, let's see. Here we are, the Herodians. I see it here, and let's see. In fact, in this genealogy, I don't see that, except for the female members of the family. I don't see that they give in this genealogy who people married.
Josephus says that Saulos was a kinsman of Herod. That's why he and his brother Costobarus never got in trouble.
Of course, these were kids, but I don't know about what your questioner is asking about who these people married, because you'd have to really scour. You'd have to scour. There were female members of the family. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about
Salome,
the male members of the family married. I don't know if they married Jews. I doubt if they did in many cases.
The sister of Herod the Great, Salome, her daughter through Costobarus was Cypros or Kypros, and the granddaughter was Kypros II, who married Aristobulus III. And their children are Saulus, Kypros the third, and Costobarus.
Well, yeah, but we know that the Herodians converted in a superficial way to Judaism. We know that Herod did that.
I'd like to ask my question.
Well, you did, but I can't answer it up.
Well, what I'm asking you though is it
true? I wouldn't want to be in your household, man. I get my head blown off here.
I just want to ask you in your understanding.
Well, she wants to ask her question. Okay.
If the mother is Jewish, is the child Jewish?
Depends how she became Jewish. I wouldn't want to. I don't think the Dead Sea Scroll people would have thought any of these people were Jewish as such. Not Jewish in the way they define Judaism, and also none of them followed the law. So as far as the Dead Sea Scrolls, these people will all be apostates. So I'm sorry, the whole Herodian family for them was from an alien origin, a Idumean.
Would you throw in Canaanite?
Sure, but there are no Canaanites left here.
But I mean, in terms of, would you take the lineage back that far?
Who? Take who back? Which far? The local peoples? Yeah, sure. I'm sure there were people that went back that far, but they weren't being called. They were called Idumeans, and the people on the coast were called. Tell me, Jackson, what were the people there from the Gaza area called? They weren't Idumeans. Those were the inland Arabs. So what were they were really Arabs by this time. But what were the ones on the coast were more Grecophile? I forget what they were called now. There were a double root of Herod's origins. Herod would have been considered totally unacceptable. And his conversion, if he ever did, he built Greek temples. He converted to every religion under the sun. I mean, they wouldn't consider that an authentic Jew, and none of his descendants would be considered that either. So you're just starting from a very suspect root, shall we put it like that? I wouldn't acknowledge any of these people as Jews, frankly. Sorry. The few that have Maccabean blood, if you can, there was one forced Maccabean marriage with Mariami. That might be the only thing you could probably build off of if you were trying to establish your theory. All the rest were converts of a suspect kind and from a foreign Arab Greek origin. Greco-Arabs, I would call them. Now, if Jews are Greco-Arabs, fine.
Well, that kind of shut everything down.
Well, they shouldn't have to agree with me. Well, no one has to agree. We all have our different views. That's good.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's fine. I just was had a question. That's fine.
No. I mean, I want you to understand. Of course, I have a certain view. Doesn't mean you have to have it.
Well,
and
no, I
if you
just
like your view, you should continue it. You know, or I can say when you come to someone like me and tell me, "Oh, these people are Jews," I would laugh in your face. Sorry, I'm being crude now, but
thank you.
You know, I'm just being honest.
I'm going to say Lizette. Lizette has not said anything.
The Herodians are Jews. Give me a break. Go ahead.
You got the last word.
Did I?
Lizette has never gone this long in any of these events without talking.
What snack?
Yeah, I don't have much to say this evening, but I'm hearing everything.
Oh, we're going to have a snack?
Lizette, not a snack.
Oh, Lizette.
Yeah, she'll slap you.
Yeah, well, you know, you make these things tough on me, you know. I like to enjoy myself. I don't like to have to, you know, run through a circle of fire or dance through a bunch of rising blades.
Well, it's been fun. Nobody's getting serious here except me.
Well, some people might get a little bit edgy. Go on. What Lizette want?
Lizette always has something to say. Come on.
There. You're coaxing her, man.
Yeah. Well, we need some comic relief. That's all.
Go on. What's up? Yeah, I still got some juice in this iPad. I'm surprised I got the iPad going. Huh?
Yeah.
What does that say?
I think she went to hide under the bed.
She went to the loo.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you some questions. The historicity of the pseudo-Clementines.
You're really hooked in the pseudo-Clementines.
Yeah, of course I am. You know, I went through that whole book.
Why are they called pseudo, for Christ's sake?
I don't call them that. I call it the Nazarene Acts after Hugh
That's good. Very good.
Bloomfield. How about the historicity of some of the characters in the Clementines, like in chapter 2 of your book, we were talking about Zacchaeus there.
Zacchaeus.
Yeah. He climbs a tree.
Well, I don't know. But I don't know. But yeah, go ahead. He climbs a tree, right?
Passing through Jericho.
Right.
And he asks Yahshua to his house in Jericho, as opposed to the enemy who passes through Jericho on his way to Damascus.
Yeah, in reverse direction, yeah.
Yes. This is a point in the source document here where they go in different directions. They're
just playing games. The Book of Acts is playing games until it gets into around the We document in 16. Other than that, you might as well look about it as a novel.
Well, there is like Zacchaeus, Clement, number of other people in the Pseudo-Clementines.
Yeah.
What's your assessment of whether? Well, I'm afraid to ask.
Did these people really exist? You mean,
these people, or
did they have
that
names?
they're in the source document?
Same as you. I have no better insight than you would have into that. Do you credit this or you don't credit this? I have no idea. We don't have any independent verification from other sources, so there's no way to be sure. But I don't see any reason to be at odds with it if it doesn't offend in some way.
Good. What can you say about the Taheb?
The Taheb?
Yeah.
The Taheb is the Samaritan redeemer figure, and has a lot. And the Samaritans, it's not clear how much Israelite mixture is interwoven with the Samaritan nationality or people, because that used to be the area of the tribes of Israel, and how many Israelites remained there and how many mixed. They only became Samaritans because the Judeans said that a lot of Greeks came in there with Alexander and his descendants, so that they were a mixed people and not a pure Israelite people. But I think there's probably a lot of Israelite-ness in them. That's all I can say. And the Taheb is probably a very similar concept to what we would consider to be the Messiah.
Well, I know he's in Josephus to some extent, a little bit.
Yeah, he is.
Where else is he? He's like a mystery figure, like the Egyptian.
You got this figure. You got this area under your thumb much more than I. Like, as I told you, my brain has been dying, and I've been working on these stupid novels, as you see.
Well, you don't have to know anything to give an opinion.
Old stuff from my youth. I mean, I thought I wrote everything down in my books that I had to say. So people say, "Well, you write some more." Well, there's no point writing more if there's nothing more to say. I don't have anything more to say about what I'm saying. What should I repeat myself? But the point is that I think that this Samaritan situation is a very interesting one, and I think it's the Jews that determined that they were not pure enough for the Judeans. But to me, they're fairly authentic.
It seems like if you study a little bit on the religion of the Samaritans, it's much closer to our religion today than it is to than our religion is to, say, Rabbinical Judaism or some of that.
Oh yeah, Rabbinical Judaism is a creation of Babylonia. It's a diaspora mixture with some Phariseeism and the Jews that the Romans allowed to survive, that they didn't. I mean, look, everyone they killed who was a revolutionary or crucified. That's why I don't buy into the story, and I call it that, the novel story of Jesus' so-called crucifixion, which was mistaken and so on and so forth. He didn't deserve to be crucified. He loved the Romans. He loved his enemies. He was pacifistic. I mean, all of this pro-Roman gobbledygook, I hate to call it that, it's nothing that I can buy as far as historical. It's a good novel, and it's lasted 2,000 years, and it'll probably last 2,000 more, because the material that I'm promoting, and not promoting, but analyzing, is not very attractive. You're not going to get today's people following that religion. Read the Dead Sea Scrolls. You're going to turn into a Dead Sea Scroll follower? I doubt it. First of all, it's very, very strict, and second of all, you got to follow every minute detail of the law. I mean, I wouldn't even be a good Dead Sea Scroll follower. They'd probably have me out there chucked out pretty damn quick.
Well, I think pretty much we can't use the Dead Sea Scrolls too much, except the Enochian literature, because of that strictness. But if you look straight at the Philoan and even the Josephus suggestions as to what the Essenes are, there's plenty in there it's worth following. Anyway, I wondered.
I'm not a big. I don't believe these patriotic groups were pacifistic or peaceful, and so there's too much even in the Philo material, because Philo was involved with the Roman Empire, and he had a Roman governorship and all this sort of thing. There's too much pro-Roman attitude in all these documents. And of course, if you're encountering an empire as strong as the Roman was, and as merciless, I mean, it's like almost encountering a Hitler. I wouldn't want to go that far. I mean, none of these other people are going to survive. So the only people who are going to survive are the toadying type people. And you would think the Romans are going to allow a literature to survive that isn't a pro-Roman, advocating loving your enemy and turning the other cheek and pacifistic. Of course, that's the only literature they're going to survive. That's why the scrolls were stuck in the caves.
All right.
You're not gonna survive being scroll type groups. That's for sure.
We had a question off the website also.
The Sicarii in Masada, what happened? They all committed suicide.
Who was it they're calling drug assassins now Sicarii, by the way. I just heard that on TV.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Somebody asked about you and the Caesar's Messiah crowd. And so I think that whole thing can
Well, he took a lot of that from my work. He knew me before he wrote that book. I was very unhappy at the way he didn't give credit to where he got most of his ideas from, and so on and so forth. So obviously the Caesar's Messiah that I say that this material was mostly, I give you the actual group that created this material in Rome. Epaphroditus, who sponsored Josephus's work, Josephus himself, some of the Herodians, Paul-type people, and so on. Epaphroditus was Caesar's secretary for Greek letters. So the fellow who wrote Caesar's Messiah took a lot of that. He just got a very good name for his book, and it's very...
you know where he got the name? There's a book from the 19th century on the same subject with the same name. I looked at...
Did you think he ripped it off? Huh? Or
he did rip it off, no doubt about it.
You don't think it was accidental?
Huh? Not a chance.
Okay, fine.
No, because
anyway,
exactly the same.
The name is very catchy, and much better than a name like the New Testament Code or something like that. So I mean, he got a lot of popular support, but everything in that book follows the ideas he pulled out of my work.
Yes. I thought so.
And I don't notice a lot of gratitude on his part.
All right. The bondservant of Yahweh would like to ask you a question about the Zadokites.
Oh my God, man! I'm going to have to go stop pretty soon.
Yeah. We got 5 minutes. Robert, 5 minutes is all.
5 minutes I can do. I'm 80 years old now.
You want me to play my violin?
Yeah. Give me my funeral march.
Where's bondservant? I don't know
what?
Who that is. The bondservant that wants to ask
something about the Zadokites. What does he want to know about the Zadokites? The Sadukim. Zadok. Zadok is a word based on the same root as Sadiq, which is righteousness. So Zadok and Sadiq could be wordplay words as well. And so the sons of Zadok in the Dead Sea Scrolls can just as easily be a play on the ideology of the sons of the Sadiq, the sons of the righteous one, or the sons of righteousness. I think, in fact, that's why they were using that word. I think that it turns out David's high priest did have the name Zadok, but I don't think they could really trace a lineal descendant over, 8 centuries or 9 centuries like that. I mean, maybe they thought they could, but I doubt it. I think they were much more interested in the esoteric understanding of Zadok in the terms of Sadiq. Sadiq and Zadok are spelled exactly the same in Hebrew. In Hebrew, there being no vowels A, they're just the 2 letters ZD. And the O and the I in ancient Hebrew script are the same. We're the only ones that distinguish between Zadok and Sadiq.
The calendrical texts in the Dead Sea Scrolls are attributed to the Zadokites. This is a question coming from bond servant.
Well, it's attributed to them because it's found among their literature.
Okay. Would you imagine that that is the old temple calendar?
I think they would probably be trying to approximate it as much as they could. I mean, why else would they be bothering?
Exactly. That's what I think. We use that old temple calendar the best we can.
Yeah, I think that the temple scroll is an attempt to, I mean, the calendar scroll is an attempt to approximate those kinds of things. And how far they succeed, you would have to analyze very, very closely. But I think they probably succeed pretty closely, much closer than the rabbinical groups do.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got time for one more. Anybody else have a question?
I do.
Okay.
How's your cat?
Professor Eisen. Oh, he's doing good. He's a little rescue I took. He was feral. I rescued him off where I work from the
That's
parking
nice.
lot.
That's lovely. I'm all for rescuing animals.
He's doing great.
I think animals are
question-
far more worthy than people, and in most cases far better than most people. Go ahead.
I agree, but that's just my opinion.
And I don't believe in killing
my question
them the way
is,
we do.
I don't either. My question is, in your one of your books, shoot, one that I've read, it a little bit about Kabbalah and its development. Do you think that came as a later Kabbalah? Sorry,
it's the word receive. So if you know Hebrew, you'd have to. The popular way is Kabbalah. That's just the ignorant and popular non-Hebrew speaking public. But the actual Hebrew, which it's based on, is Kabbalah. To likabel, to receive. Received with.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I am a seeker.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. I thought I would. I like to correct if I can.
Thank you. Do you think that this was something that developed out of what was going on, or do you think it was a tradition that could possibly have existed before?
Well,
just an opinion.
The Kabbalah, they like to claim in the modern groups, that they go way back. But, a lot of this esoteric sort of approach to Jewish, not that there's anything wrong with it, goes back to Jewish learning and ideology. It goes back to the High Middle Ages. A lot of it owes a lot to Islamic Sufism, for instance, that was going on in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th centuries. And then the influence on the Jews in Mesopotamia and Spain. And so a lot of these esoteric developments started, I think, in those periods. And so whether it goes back to the Qumran, I mean, I don't know what their esoteric tradition was back then. And we don't have a lot of indication of what it was. There probably was something. I don't think it was called Kabbalah at that time. We never hear the word used at that time. There were some other words for it which escape my mind at the present time, probably in my books. So I don't know. Modern Kabbalah, I can assure you, doesn't go back to any earlier than Eastern Europe in the 17th century. But whether that's based on earlier mystical movements, I would be unable to say. There were earlier mystical movements, but more resembling Islamic mysticism, I think, in the Mediterranean area, Greece, Spain, and so on. So I'm not sure, but I'm sure that nothing from Eastern Europe could have any tangible connection to the first century.
I don't think so either.
Thank you. I was just wondering about. Some of the secrets that they had to keep. No, it doesn't.
Well, people like to make all kinds of claims for their ideas and their ideology. I hope I don't do that too much. Everyone does, but in any case, then that's one of the big things. Oh, we go all the way back to the word of Moses. I don't even know what the word of Moses. I don't even know if the word of Moses goes back to the word of Moses. First we started hearing about it is in the Davidic period. So whether it's just another word for the kind of law that was practiced in the Davidic and later kings period, or whether it is you can really trace it back to the wilderness time, which they like to try to do. So all these things are something that you have to take with a grain of salt, as far as I'm concerned.
One comment for you. One comment.
Who's coming?
It's been getting around that you are the prophesied new teacher of righteousness. You have a comment on that?
Well, I'll tell you this. I wish I were. I really do. I wish I could be. I don't think I have the audience. Or look at those guys with the Jesus cave. I mean, they got a much wider audience than I have now, even though they spun off from my work. That guy who was leading that whole thing came on my dig with me to Qumran originally. He didn't know anything about these things. And then when I was thrown out of the country because of the Dead Sea Scrolls suit, he continued going there with his groups. And then he got into all these other things. Fine, that's okay. So, I mean, I don't think I have the circulation or the widespread influence, but insofar as I can be, I don't like to say a prophet, but a spokesman for and of and about righteousness, then I'm proud to be a teacher of righteousness. And I'm sure there's a succession of such teachers. And I'm sure there's others teachers of righteousness. If you find other good teachers of righteousness like yourself, then I would say that's good. Let's have multiple ones. But if I'm one of them, I'm proud to be one of them. And I'm delighted to be one of them.
Amen. If you want a copy of the New Jerusalem, it's a prophetic book by Robert Eisenman years ago. I have a few copies of that left, and I will be more than happy to send you what's left. All right.
That was written again when I was about, 22, 23 years old. Yeah.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks for having me. Hope I didn't hurt anyone's feeling or disillusion anyone.
No, sir. We'll put this up on YouTube for you. I'll send you a link.
Okay, send me a link. All right, man.
Okay, brother.
Be good to everybody, and Shana Tova. You know what that means. Happy, as they say, New Year. I'm not sure if it's really the New Year, but it's the beginning of the temple cycle, supposedly. And I don't know how these traditions develop, but that's what they say at this time, and it starts Wednesday night.